Hi, my name is Chris Bishop with Partners in Financial Planning. I'm a certified financial planner, and today we'll be talking about finding the best price for prescriptions. So we'll go ahead and get the presentation started, but before we do that, just some disclosures to make you aware of. This information is just for education, informational purposes only. It does not constitute any sort of a financial investment tax or legal advice, and is also subject to change, particularly on this topic because prescription drug industry is certainly going through a lot of changes, a lot of different avenues to obtain different drugs. So please keep that in mind. Consult with your financial planner or insurance broker for recommendations specific to you. So let's go ahead and start talking about this. Just a summary of takeaways. First, if you're covered by Medicare or an employer plan, this is likely the best option for you in purchasing prescriptions. They already have pre-negotiated rates with various drug companies, as well as defined copays, deductibles, and that sort of thing. So usually that's going to be your best bet. However, if Medicare or your employer plan doesn't cover a prescription, or you look at the price and you just think, wow, this is just too high to pay, then you can check with alternative suppliers, which we're going to talk about in this presentation, and determine what makes most sense for you. If you don't use your insurance, whenever you're buying a prescription drug, just consider that purchase likely won't count towards your deductible or maximum out of pocket through your insurance plan. And this is definitely something to take into account because once you meet your deductible, usually you're going to start to pay less. And when you've met your maximum out of pocket, oftentimes you won't pay any more for any additional costs that you may incur. So it may be best to perhaps pay a little bit more for a drug price through your current insurance rather than using some of these alternatives if you think you're going to meet your maximum amount of pocket in particular. Also be aware of services that collect your personal data. You may not want that to be collected or used, and that may preclude you from using any of these alternative avenues for buying prescription drugs. So first, let's take a look at all these options. It is a bit overwhelming, but we'll try to break it down. First is Medicare Part D, and this is comprehensive drug insurance for those 65 and older, where you pay a monthly premium. And currently, the max out of pocket, is pretty reasonable, I think. Who do we think this is best for? Well, really, we think this is best for any senior wanting drug coverage. And in fact, we are typically, for our clients, going to recommend it even if you're a senior that doesn't use any drugs, at least at this point in time. The issue is if you don't sign up for Medicare Part D at age 65, and let's say you don't need drugs for many, many years. Well, when you do end up signing up for Medicare Part D, you'll have to pay the penalty for being uncovered for a period of time. You can see the breakdown there. This equates to about 40 cents more in premium per month for every month that you're uncovered. So, if you wait until you're age 80, this can result in, nearly $800 or more in extra premiums per year. Not to mention that you might need a drug in the middle of the year that costs thousands and thousands of dollars. And you're not going to be able to pick up drug coverage until open enrollment occurs for Medicare Part D. So we just view it as a good practice to sign up for Medicare Part D when you turn 65. You also have an employer plan. This is group insurance. Through your employer, you're going to have a premium deducted through payroll, and you're going to have defined copays and deductibles and coverages that you will have to read through. A lot of times this can be a bit overwhelming because there's different copays maybe for generics versus name brands. And you just have to kind of understand what your coverage is. But often the employer plan is going to be best for working adults. So another option, moving past Medicare and employer, recently Trump RX went live, and this is really focused on brand name discounts. And often you'll be issued a coupon if you try to purchase the drugs through this site, but that's not necessarily 100% of the time. They do leave it up to the manufacturer of the drug as how to get the discounted price. Cost structure is most favored nations rate that was negotiated. And this is usually going to be best for people who do not have insurance or whose insurance refuses to cover specific expensive brand name drugs. And oftentimes, employer plans, for example, might not cover fertility or weight loss or certain types of inhalers. So this can be a good option for people that again have their insurance, not cover specific things. However, when it comes to brand names, you always want to consider if there's a generic you can purchase instead. It may be that the generic of the name brand is still cheaper at one of these other alternatives as opposed to Trump RX. But if you're stuck, you need the brand name, and it is for one of these small carve outs like fertility, weight loss inhalers. Trump RX is definitely a good place to look. Next is Good RX. And this is really applying to or looking for retail price discounts for brand name and generic drugs. Again, this is coupon based, where you take the coupon directly into the pharmacy and you get the discount right then and there. This is often good for people who do have insurance, but maybe they have high copays with certain generic drugs. And so it may be best, it may be less expensive to, just not apply this to your insurance and go buy it with cash with a good RX discount. It's also good for people just wanting a fast bridge supply of a prescription before, maybe their mail order comes through, before their prescription gets approved through their insurance, and they just want to go ahead and start the prescription right now. They can take the prescription right from the doctor's office into the pharmacy with a good RX discount and buy it that way. The next method is cost plus drugs. This is the program or site that Mark Cuban set up. It focuses mainly on generics, but there is some limited brand name availability out there too. This is a kind of a mail order discount pharmacy where you would purchase the drugs and have them mailed to you. Usually this is for people who do not have insurance perhaps, or whose insurance's negotiated rates are more than the cash price at cost plus. And this goes back to, if you have your employer plan and you're just thinking to yourself, wow, this prescription costs a lot under my plan, well, go ahead out here and check it under cost plus drugs and see if maybe you can get it for cheaper. So looking for generic drugs at discounted prices. Some popular drugs that are bought through here are high blood pressure, cholesterol, depression, or diabetes. And again, this can be also a good alternative for a bridge supply of prescription drugs, just like GoodRx. And finally, the last one we're going to talk about is Amazon Pharmacy. This is best, again, for convenience and buying generics and even brand name drugs. Again, this is kind of a mail order discount type structure. This is usually going to be best for Prime members to get the full benefits, although you don't have to be a Prime member to use Amazon Pharmacy, but there's just some things you won't get if you don't have a Prime membership. Also, people who do or don't or do not have insurance who want their medications delivered faster than mail order. There are some areas in the country, a lot of metro areas in the country, where they advertise same-day delivery of your drugs. So if you don't want to go to a pharmacy, you want it delivered straight to your door, Amazon Pharmacy is definitely a good option for that. And again, people wanting a fast bridge for prescription drugs that maybe their approvals or whatnot might be taking a little bit longer, and they just want a quick supply not to get them through. So some additional details about each one of these. First, the Medicare Part D. Consider any new drug that may not be on your Plan D formulary. So various Plan Ds only cover a set of prescriptions. So you might have to start taking a prescription that has no coverage or very bad coverage. And so you want to keep that in mind. Maybe it might make sense for you to start buying that drug through one of these alternative methods until you change Part D plans. And you can change Part D plans during open enrollment every year, late November, early December. So if you get a new drug, you can switch plans and get better coverage. We've listed the website here where you can compare plans. We've also seen that you might be able to switch to a plan just that has the same coverage or very similar coverage at a cheaper cost. So not just for making sure your drugs are covered, but finding the cheapest cost. You can go to that website and look at that and even make the change. You can also go to a Medicare Part D plan broker who can help you facilitate these changes. Again, Medicare Part D, as far as delivery, you go to the pharmacy. You could also do mail order. Employer plans, we've kind of touched upon this, but consider co-pays for generics, and if another option may provide a better price. So if you look into the details of your coverage, maybe the copay for a generic is 15 or 20 bucks. Well, with GoodRx, maybe you can buy it for $8. So it might make sense for you just to do the GoodRx if you have higher copays for generics. Trump RX. So when we start talking about these, we're starting to talk about different methods that don't necessarily use your prescription drug insurance. And so if you buy something with a coupon through Trump RX and don't use your insurance, it's not going to count towards your deductible or maximum out of pocket. So that's what I said earlier, kind of take that into account when you're deciding where you want to buy things from. Currently, Trump RX has limited offerings, but it is growing. So if it's a brand name, you might as well go ahead and plug it into the website and see if it's offered if you're not happy with your Medicare employer plan paying for it. Doing this also avoids pre-authorization. So sometimes you might need to get authorization from your insurance company to buy a drug. Well, Trump RX and some of these others, you don't need pre-authorization. And delivery, again, varies based on manufacturer. The website will tell you, Trump RX will tell you how to get the discount, whether it's a coupon taken to a pharmacy or some other method. We also have GoodRx. This also will not count towards your deductible because you're not using your insurance, you're using a coupon. It also avoids pre-authorization. And as far as delivery, you can go into the pharmacy. You could also do mail order through GoodRx Gold, which is another subscription-based service that they have that you might want to check out. Cost plus drugs. The generic pricing here might be less than a Trump RX brand name. So again, if you're going to take a brand name, it's worth checking to see if there's a generic out there that does a similar type function. I mean, usually the generics are very close, if not identical to the brand name. So why not buy that at a much cheaper price? This will not also count towards your deductible, although they have started some programs with insurance providers where it would count towards your deductible maximum out of pocket. But generally, that's a very narrow group of insurance companies, at least at this point in time. This may not also be suitable for urgent needs. If you need something that day or very quickly, cost plus drugs may not be a good option for that. And they also usually avoid pre-authorizations. Their delivery methods, primarily mail order. They have started partnering with some limited pharmacies for in-person pickup. You'd have to go to the website and check on that, but primarily it was started for mail order. And then finally, Amazon Pharmacy. These can count towards your deductible because they do integrate insurance with their offering, but it's not necessarily required. So you just have to know, hey, if you're buying it through Amazon Pharmacy with your insurance kind of incorporated, then it will count towards deductibles, but you don't have to. You can just, very similar to GoodRx, just buy it without going through your insurance. And it may avoid some pre-authorization if you're not using the health insurance component. Delivery, again, is primarily mail order. As I mentioned, has same-day delivery in some areas, and limited in-person pickup is currently offered at some One Medical clinics, which may or may not be around you. So we hope that kind of gives you a very good high level of some options you might want to check into and save you a few bucks on your prescription drugs. Again, I'm with Partners in Financial Planning. We're comprehensive financial planners. Topics like this give you a little bit of an idea of what we do in addition to investments. So where a financial advisor, investment advisor might just talk about your investments, we take a whole approach. We want to cover everything from insurance to estate planning, to investments, to goal planning, to tax planning, a wide array of different topics that we believe make up your total financial plan and your total financial well-being. We do have a minimum of 700,000 in investment assets to work with clients. Our fees are 1% or less of the invested assets, which is very low when you compare that to other service offerings around the country. To schedule a free consultation, visit our website, give us a call, or shoot us an email. Again, I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and look forward to talking to you soon.